In this tutorial, we want to add the PayPal to the project and make it like this. So after finishing this video, we have the payment functionality inside our project. So let's see how we can do it. Okay, here is the roadmap for this lesson. First of all, we want to generate the PayPal button component. So let's open up the terminal and go to the front end folder. Then write NGGC for generating the component inside components folder, partials folder with the name of PayPal-button. Then press enter. Okay, everything is good. Close the terminal. Now that we generated our PayPal button component, it's time to adding it to the payment page. So press Ctrl P and write payment page and find the HTML file of the component. And here at the bottom of the file, inside the buttons class, we want to add the PayPal button component, but its name starts with app dash. I don't want it, so first of all, I go to the Explorer. Inside the partials folder of the components, as you can see, we have PayPal button. Click on PayPal button TS file. Here at the selector, remove this app dash. Then get back to the payment page, HTML file. Here at the tag, the name of PayPal button. For paying the order using PayPal button, I want to pass the order to the PayPal button. So let's add an input inside the TS file, @input with the name of order, with the type of order too. Make it required. Okay, very nice. Now here inside the payment page, after the PayPal button, we can pass the order to this PayPal button. So when we finish the payment, we can send the order to the server to be paid. Okay, we have nothing to do with the payment page anymore for now. Now we need to add the PayPal SDK into our project because we want to use its buttons. For doing it, we need to go to the index.html file. Here at the end of the body, write script src https://www.paypal.com/sdk/js with the question mark. For showing the PayPal button, we need a client ID. So we need to pass the client ID, client-ID here. We need to pass the client ID to this address. For getting a client ID, you need to go to the PayPal developer website. After logging into your account, search for developer.paypal.com inside the Google or enter this address. Then you can see your name at the top right of the screen. Hover over it and select dashboard. After that, you will see this page. Here, as you can see, we have two options to select: sandbox and the live. Sandbox is used for testing and live should be used for your actual web application. As you can see at the bottom of this, we have REST API apps. Here we can see the name of our apps. For getting the client ID, you need to create an app, or you can use the default application's client ID. For this lesson, I want to create an app. I want to set its name to foodmine-course. The app type is merchant. I want to sell something. Exactly. And here, as you can see, there's a sandbox business account. If you don't have anything here, you need to click on accounts and create a business account. Now click on create app. Here we go. Now we have a sandbox account with a client ID. This is the client ID that you need to copy. You should copy yours because if you copy this, it will be connected to my account. Now get back to the code and paste that client ID here. Here we go. Now we just added our PayPal SDK. Close the script tag and there we go. Now after adding the PayPal SDK to our project, we need to go to the PayPal button TypeScript file. Close the index.html and come over here. By adding the PayPal SDK to our project, it will set window.paypal variable. So now if you use this window.paypal variable inside the JavaScript, you can have access to the PayPal SDK functionalities. But to have it inside the TypeScript, here inside this component, we need to declare a variable. This is the first time that you see this keyword. Declare keyword var PayPal with the type of any. This line is exactly this line inside a component. I will not remove this so you can see that these two are the same. Now that we have the PayPal variable here, we can use it for creating the PayPal button. Here, scroll down inside the ng on init. I want to copy this PayPal buttons part because it has some unnecessary complexity. Here we go. We have some errors, but don't worry, we are going to fix them. as you can see, we have PayPal.buttons. It is a function that you're going to pass different events. Create order is the beginning of the order. When you click on PayPal button, it will call this create order. Inside the create order, we have two parameters. The main parameter that we want to use is the actions. And from the actions, we use this create function. Here I use self instead of this because inside the create function, we have no access to this class, to this PayPal button component class. So here, after the ng on init, we need to write const self is equal to this. So we are putting the this inside the self. Then we can use it inside this create function to have access to the order total price for setting the amount. Here you define purchase units. And I have only one purchase unit and I set the amount of it. I set the currency code to USD. Based on your currency, you can set this currency code. For example, I can change it to CAD, for example, Canadian dollar. And the value is the price of the order. Here we go. By calling this function, we're going to show that page that shows the amount of the price that the user should pay to get the order. And here is another event OnApprove. When the user clicked on the pay and everything is done, this function will be called. What you need to call the capture function from the actions order to get the details of the payment for sending it to the server and save it on the server. So after getting the payment from the capture, we set its ID to the order payment ID. Then we call the order service pay function. We don't have the pay function inside the order yet, but we are going to implement it. And we didn't inject the order service here. First of all, let's inject the order service, private order service with the type of order service. Okay, the order service problem is fixed. But before implementing the pay function inside the order service, I want to implement its API inside the order router. So press Ctrl P or Command P inside the macOS and write order router. Let's scroll down a little bit. Here write router.post with the address of /pay, the async handler. Inside it write async request with the type of any and response. Create the body of the function. First of all, we want to get the payment ID from the body of the request. So const payment ID equal to request.body. Don't forget to put the payment ID inside curly braces. So it will automatically put the payment ID from this body into this variable. At this moment, we want to get the new order for the current user. So we can make this line as a function for the other API and use it for the payment too. So just select this await find one to the end, press Ctrl dot and select extract to function in module scope. Set its name to get new order for current user. Here we go. As easy as this. So this is converted into a function. Now we can use it inside another API too. So here write const order equal to await get new order for current user. Pass the request to it. Here we go. Now that we have the new order, we need to check if the order is null or undefined. Send a bad request response.status of HTTP bad request. And send order not found and return. So when we reach this part of the code, it means the order wasn't null or undefined, because if it was null or undefined, we're going to return out of this function. Set the order.paymentId equal to paymentId that's coming from the request body. Set the order.status equal to order status.paid. And save the order. Await order.save. Then send response.send order._ID to the client side. We want the ID of the order to be sent to the client because we need it to redirect the user to the track page that we are going to implement on the next lesson. Here we go. The Pay API is ready. Let's add its address to the URLs. Here, just duplicate the last order item. And here, just replace this with pay. Order pay URL is ordered URL plus /pay. Very nice. Now we have the address here. Close the URLs and close the routers. Now let's go to the order service and implement this pay function. Order service, press enter. the bottom, duplicate the last method, change its name to pay and its result to string because we want order ID and the type of order ID is a string. We need to post and the type of the result is a string. And here we need order underline pay URL as the URL. And for the pay, we need to pass the order. So we need order with the type of order here. And we need to give this order to the post function. Here we go. Now we have this post. Return type is a string to the order pay URL. And we send the order to this. We're done here. Close the order service. As you can see, there is no error for the order service. As you can see, the cart service inside the pay subscribe is not injected. Let's inject it. Private cart service, the type of cart service. Scroll down. We need router and toaster service too. So put a comma here. Private router with the type of router. It's not injected correctly. Press Ctrl dot and import it. And private toast R service with the type of toast R service. Okay. As I told you, by calling the capture function here, we're going to get the details of the payment. We set it to the payment. We pass the payment ID to the order payment ID. And we send the order to the server to be saved. After saving, we get the order ID. On the happy part, we clear the cart because after paying the order, the cart should be empty. We need to be redirected to the track page that we didn't implement. On the next lesson, we'll do that. We pass the order ID to it and we show a success message that says payment saved successfully, the success title. And if there was any problem, we say payment save failed with the error title. And on the error, we just show a toast message, payment failed with an error title. And we just log the error to see what's wrong with the payment. Here, as you can see, we have a render function. This render function says, where should I add these PayPal buttons? Because when you use PayPal buttons, you need to assign it to an HTML tag. For having this PayPal element, first of all, we need to go to the PayPal button HTML file. Let's clear this. Here we need to add a div with the reference of PayPal. Just close it. We just need a div for showing the PayPal button. This is a tag and we want to set it to our PayPal button. For having access to this, just like the map that I showed you before, we need to have the view child attribute. So let's add a view child. The reference name is PayPal. We added seconds ago there. It is a static as we don't have any if or for statement inside our HTML file. And its name, I want it to be PayPal element. It is required with the type of element reference. It is part of Angular core. Okay. Now, if you scroll down, there is no error. So, as I told you, the PayPal buttons is part of JavaScript. It is not for TypeScript. So we need to get the native element that is actual JavaScript representation of the HTML element, and we need to pass it to the render function. Here we go. Now look at the result. As you can see, we have this beautiful PayPal button here. Let's click on the PayPal. Oh, we have an error. Let's check out the error. Console, zoom in a little bit. As you can see, we have an error of unexpected currency. It says if you are passing the CAD as the currency, you need to pass the currency type when you're getting the JS SDK. So I just copied this part that is currency equal to CAD. And I go to my code. I need to open up index.html file. Here before the client ID, I put an ampersand and I paste what is necessary. So we said the currency is CAD and client ID is this one. The default currency is USD. So if you are using the US dollar, you don't need to do that. For other currencies, you need to pass the currency type for getting the corresponding JS file from the PayPal. Now look at the result. Close the inspect, refresh the page. Now click on the PayPal button. As you can see, it just redirected us to the payment. And if you look at the address, it is sandbox.paypal.com. So you need a sandbox account to test the payment of this PayPal transaction. For getting a sandbox account, you need to go to the PayPal developer dashboard. And here under the sandbox, you see accounts. Click on it, scroll down. Here, as you can see, there are two default accounts for the PayPal sandbox. one with the type of personal and the other one with the type of business. I want to just test the payment, so I want a personal username and password. Hover over the three dots of the personal and select view edit account. Wait a couple of seconds and you will see this page. Copy the email ID, go to the previous payment page, paste it here, click on next, get back, copy the generated password, paste it and click on login. As you can see, it is just logged in. You look at here, the order price is $5 and you can see this $5 here. Very nice. Click on pay now and it says success, payment saved successfully. Now let's log into the MongoDB Atlas with our account and check if the payment ID is correctly saved inside our database. So here, click on browse collection, click on orders, clear everything here. As you can see, the last order has the payment ID. It means the data is saved correctly. On the next lesson, we need to implement the track page. So after finishing the payment, you will be redirected to the track page that you can see the state of your order. You've been watching Code with Nasir, and I hope to see you next time.